Chapter 1. Land that forges iron souls. Hard lands create harder people, and few lands on earth were as unforgiving as the Mongolian steppe. Endless grasslands stretched beneath an eternal sky, battered by freezing winters, scorching summers, and violent winds. Survival here was not a choice. It was a daily battle. From this crucible emerged nomadic tribes who lived on horseback, fought with the bow, and trusted strength over lineage. These people would one day reshape the world. Long before the rise of the Mongols, the eastern steppe had been dominated by shifting confederations. Empires rose and collapsed with alarming speed. Among them were the Khitan, who forged the mighty Liao Empire, ruling over northern China and Korea. But in time, they too fell, driven westward by rising powers. Their fall left a vacuum, one that the Mongols would eventually fill. Chapter 2. The Fractured Tribes. By the 12th century, the Mongolian plateau was divided among rival tribes locked in endless feuds. One such alliance was the Mongol Confederation, the whole Mongol. Yet unity was fragile. Blood feuds, betrayal, and competition for grazing lands weakened them. Among these tribes was the Borjigin clan, small in number but destined for greatness. The balance collapsed entirely when rivalry with the Tatars drained the Mongols of strength. Alliances dissolved, clans scattered. The confederation nearly vanished. It was into this chaos that a boy named Temujin was born, unaware that history would soon bend around his will. Chapter 3. Exile of a Child. Temujin's father, Yesugei, attempted to restore unity through diplomacy and marriage, but fate intervened. Poisoned by enemies, Yesugei died, leaving his family abandoned by their own people. Tradition demanded leadership pass smoothly, but tradition failed. Temujin, still a child, was cast into exile. His family starved. They scavenged roots and hunted small animals. At times, Temujin was captured and enslaved, humiliated and chained. Yet hardship did not break him. It sharpened him. The steppe taught him a brutal lesson. Loyalty must be earned, not inherited. Chapter 4. Brothers turned enemies. As a young man, Temujin formed alliances not by blood, but by shared hardship. His closest bond was with Jamuka, his sworn brother. Together they raided rival tribes and gathered followers. But their visions differed. Jamuka believed in aristocracy, power for noble bloodlines. Temujin believed in merit, power for the capable. This ideological divide tore them apart. When Jamuka was proclaimed Khan by the old elite, war became inevitable. The first clash ended in disaster for Temujin. Outnumbered and defeated, he vanished into obscurity. Many believed his story was over. They were wrong. Chapter 5. A New Way of War. Temujin returned stronger, wiser, and ruthless. He reorganized society itself. Tribe no longer mattered. Loyalty did. Rank was earned through skill. Warriors were divided into units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000. Desertion meant death, not just for one man, but for his entire unit. This discipline forged an army unlike any the steppe had seen. Swift, coordinated, and utterly loyal. Each victory brought more followers. Each defeat of an enemy tribe added new soldiers to his ranks. Chapter 6. The Birth of Genghis Khan. At a grand council of tribes, Temujin was proclaimed Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. For the first time, the Mongols stood united under one banner. Genghis Khan was not merely a conqueror, he was a lawgiver. Hospitality became sacred, messengers were protected, laws were written to bind a nomadic empire together. Under his rule, the Mongols ceased to be raiders. They became a civilization in motion. Chapter 7. The world burns east. The Mongols struck outward. Kingdoms fell one by one. Fortified cities learned that walls could starve as easily as men. Siege warfare became a Mongol art. Engineers were spared. Craftsmen were preserved. Resistance meant annihilation. China trembled. Central Asia collapsed. Persia burned. Cities that resisted were erased from memory. Those that surrendered lived, forever changed. Terror became a weapon sharper than any blade. Chapter 8. The Great Khans. Last campaign, even in old age, Genghis Khan refused rest. While subduing rebellious kingdoms, he fell from his horse and grew ill. Still, he pressed on. He died not in comfort, but on campaign. true to the steppe. His burial place was hidden as he commanded. His death was concealed until the army returned home. The world would not know peace again. Chapter 9. Empire of Sons. Genghis left behind not just land, but a system. His sons ruled different corners of the empire. Among them rose Ögedei, who transformed conquest into governance. Roads, laws, trade routes, and postal systems connected continents. This era became known as the Pax Mongolica. Merchants traveled safely from Europe to China. Ideas, technologies, and cultures flowed freely, for better and for worse. Chapter 10. The last great Khan. Decades later, one grandson would reshape the Mongol legacy forever. Kublai Khan. Unlike his ancestors, Kublai ruled not from horseback, but from a throne. He embraced Chinese administration, founded the Yuan dynasty, and ruled over a united China. Under Kublai, the Mongols became emperors. Cities flourished, trade expanded. The empire reached its zenith, not through terror alone, but through governance. Chapter 11. Legacy of the Steppe. Yet unity could not last forever. Civil wars shattered the empire into rival khanates. What remained was memory, a legacy carved into history itself. From a starving child on the steppe to rulers of half the known world, the Mongols proved that history does not belong to the comfortable. It belongs to those forged by hardship. And beneath the eternal blue sky, their echo still rides the wind. Chapter 12. The West Awakens. The Mongol storm did not stop at the deserts of Central Asia. Beyond the mountains and rivers lay lands untouched by steppe warfare. Europe, the Middle East, and the Caucasus. These regions believed distance was protection. They were wrong. After the fall of Khwarezm, two generals rode west with no intention of conquest, only knowledge. Their names would become legend, Subutai and JB. With barely 20,000 riders, they embarked on the greatest reconnaissance mission in military history. Chapter 13. Shadows over the Caucasus. The Mongols entered Georgia like ghosts. Fields burned, villages vanished. When King George IV marched out with armored knights, he expected glory. Instead, he met deception. The Mongols retreated, slowly, deliberately. Heavy cavalry pursued, then the trap closed. Encircled, showered with arrows, the Georgian host collapsed. The illusion of European invincibility shattered. Winter did not stop the Mongols. They crossed frozen mountain passes, losing men, but never momentum. On the far side waited a coalition of tribes. Alans, Kipchaks, Volga-Bulgars, confident in numbers. Subutai broke them not by force alone, but by betrayal, bribing nomads to abandon their allies. When dawn came, the battlefield belonged to the Mongols. Chapter 14. The Ruas Mistake. Fleeing Kipchaks warned the Rus princes of the coming danger. For once, the divided principalities united. 60,000 strong, they marched east. The Mongols sent envoys asking peace. The princes killed them. That sealed their fate. For 9 days, the Mongols retreated, leaving loot behind. The Rus believed victory was near. On the banks of the Kalka River, the Mongols turned. Heavy lancers smashed the vanguard while horse archers cut down the rest. The princes were captured, crushed beneath wooden platforms while Mongol generals feasted above them. Only 1 in 10 Rus warriors survived. Chapter 15. A world without barriers. The Great Raid ended not with conquest, but with understanding. The Mongols learned Europe's terrain, politics, and armies. Knowledge was carried back east, stored, refined, and waiting. Meanwhile, Ögedei ruled from Karakorum. Unlike his father, he focused on administration. Roads linked continents. A postal system spanned thousands of miles. Laws replaced chaos. Trade flourished under Mongol protection. This was the Pax Mongolica, an age where merchants traveled farther than armies ever had. Chapter 16. The Sons of Genghis. The empire expanded in 3 directions at once. In China, fortresses fell. In the west, Persia burned. In the north, the steppes bowed. Yet cracks appeared within the ruling family. Rivalries simmered beneath loyalty. Territories were divided among sons and grandsons, each ruling like kings, but still bound to the Great Khan. That balance would not last. Chapter 17. The Destruction of Baghdad. In 1258, the Mongol army arrived at the gates of the greatest city in the Islamic world, Baghdad. Led by Hulagu Khan, the Mongols demanded submission. The Caliph refused. Siege engines thundered day and night. When the walls fell, the city drowned in blood. Libraries burned, scholars died. The Tigris River ran red with life. The Islamic Golden Age ended in a single week. For the first time in centuries, the Muslim world had no caliph. Chapter 18. The Limit of Fear. From Baghdad, the Mongols advanced into Syria. Cities surrendered without resistance. Aleppo fell. Damascus opened its gates. Then history shifted. In 1260, at a place called Ain Jalut, the Mongols faced an enemy who had studied them, the Mamluks of Egypt. Using Mongol tactics against Mongols themselves, they lured, encircled, and crushed the invaders. For the first time, a Mongol field army was decisively defeated. The myth of invincibility died that day. Chapter 19. Civil War of Brothers. While armies clashed abroad, the empire tore itself apart from within. After the death of the great Khan Mungke, two brothers claimed supremacy, Kublai Khan and Arik Uke. The Toluid civil war raged across Mongolia. Cities burned, Karakorum fell. Loyalty fractured. When Kublai finally emerged victorious, the empire was no longer whole. It was divided permanently. Chapter 20. The empire splinters. Four great Mongol states now stood where one empire once ruled. The Yuan dynasty in China, the Ilkhanate in Persia, the Golden Horde in Russia, the Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia. They shared ancestry, but not unity, yet one chapter remained unfinished. China still resisted. Chapter 21. Toward the final conquest, Kublai Khan turned his gaze south. Song China stood defiant behind rivers, fleets, and fortresses. To defeat them, the Mongols would have to abandon the steppe way entirely. They built navies, trained marines, mastered siege machines capable of shattering mountains. The last act of the Mongol saga was about to begin. Chapter 22. A Khan who changed the Mongols. When Kublai Khan emerged victorious from civil war, he ruled an empire already exhausted by decades of conquest. The age of endless raids was over. Kublai understood something his ancestors had not. China could not be ruled like the steppe. He moved the capital from Karakorum to Khanbalik, modern Beijing, and crowned himself Emperor of the Yuan dynasty. For the first time, the Mongols abandoned tents for palaces, arrows for administration, and tribal custom for imperial law. Chapter 23. Governing the world. Kublai rebuilt the empire from the ground up. Schools were founded, roads repaired. Paper currency, backed by silver, flowed across continents. A vast postal network turned the empire into a living organism of communication and trade. Foreigners were welcomed. Merchants, scholars, travelers, from Persia to Italy, walked freely through China. Among them was Marco Polo, whose stories would later astonish Europe. Yet stability came at a price. The Mongols slowly became fewer in their own empire, replaced by Chinese soldiers, officials, and bureaucrats. The horde was becoming a state. Chapter 24. The Last Unbroken Wall. Southern Song. China remained defiant. Its rivers, fleets, and fortresses blocked Mongol cavalry. Xiangyang, the greatest fortress in Asia, stood as the gatekeeper of the south. The siege lasted 6 years. Only when massive counterweight trebuchets arrived, capable of hurling stones heavier than horses, did the walls collapse. When Xiangyang fell, all of China trembled. Chapter 25. War moves to the water. Kublai transformed the Mongol army yet again. Thousands of ships were built. Sailors and marines were recruited from China and Korea. Rivers became highways of conquest. The Song court fled south, crowning a child emperor and retreating from city to city. They chained their fleet together for one last stand, turning their ships into floating prisons. Chapter 26. The Battle of Yamen. In 1279 at Yamen, the fate of China was decided, when warships attacked from all directions. Fire ships, arrows, boarding actions. It was chaos. When defeat became certain, a loyal official seized the 8-year-old Song emperor and leapt into the sea. The Song dynasty ended beneath the waves. China was united under foreign rule for the first time in history. Chapter 27. The Peak of Power. At its height, the Mongol Empire, or what remained of it, connected east and west like never before. Technology spread. Gunpowder, printing, navigation, medicine. Trade flourished, but so did disease. Along the same roads that carried silk and spices traveled the Black Death, one of history's deadliest plagues. The empire that united the world also unknowingly poisoned it. Chapter 28, Slow Decline, Kublai aged. Campaigns against Japan failed. Storms destroyed fleets. Rebellions flared across China. The treasury emptied. Corruption spread. The Mongols, who once ruled from horseback, now ruled from courts they barely understood. When Kublai Khan died in 1294, the empire lost its last true architect. Chapter 29, The End of the Steppe Dream. Within decades, the Yuan dynasty collapsed. The Mongols were driven back to the steppe by the Ming. In Persia, Russia, and Central Asia, Mongol states faded or transformed. The greatest empire the world had ever known dissolved, not through defeat alone, but through time. Chapter 30, Legacy of the Eternal Sky. The Mongols changed history forever. They reshaped warfare, connected continents, ended old worlds and birthed new ones. From a starving boy named Temujin to an emperor ruling from Beijing, their story defied imagination. The empire fell, but its echo still rides the wind beneath the eternal blue sky. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, and comment.